Am I the whole for stealing my sister-in-law wedding date? I'm 25. I moved to this city a few years ago for work, and while I love my life here, I'm isolated. My entire family, my parents, my cousins, everyone I grew up with, is hundreds of kilometers away. I don't have a found family of best friends here yet. I have coworkers I grab coffee with and a fiancé I adore. So, when I got engaged to my fiancé, 32M, last October, I was terrified of planning a wedding alone. Enter my sister-in-law, S, 32F. In the beginning, S was a godsend. Since I didn't have a sister or a mother nearby to go through the bride rituals with, she stepped in. She took me to dress fittings, sat through 3-hour cake tasting sessions, and handed over a spreadsheet of reputable vendors. I felt so lucky. I thought, okay, I'm finally being welcomed into this family. But there is a shadow over S that I struggle to understand. In our culture, the evil eye is a very real, very heavy concept. It's the idea that if you share your joy too early, the envy of others will rot it. Most people just wear a charm or stay humble. S, however, takes it to a level that feels less like tradition and more like psychological warfare. She lives her life in a complete information vacuum. You don't know she's bought a car until the engine is cooling in the driveway. You don't know she's applied for a promotion until she's already moved into the new office. I tried to respect it at first, but last year, it became personal. S hid her pregnancy for 7 months. 7 months of me asking her to go to brunch or shopping or for a walk, and her giving me every excuse in the book. She was sick. She was contagious. She was swamped with work. I spent months worrying about her health, only to find out through a slip of the tongue from her fiancé de mine that she was carrying a child. When she finally confessed at 8 months, she acted like it was a brand new revelation. She even lied about the gender, saying it was a surprise, when her fiancé had already told us it was a boy. The kicker? We didn't even know when she went into labor. We found out the baby was born 2 weeks after the fact through a Facebook post. It hurt. It hurt because while she kept me at arm's length, she was deep in the trenches of my life. She knew my budget, my guest list, my insecurities about my dress, and my family drama. She was harvesting information from me while keeping her own life under a lead blanket. My fiancé just shrugged it off. That's just us, he'd say. She's superstitious. It's not about you. When we started planning the wedding, S asked to be a bridesmaid. I said yes because I was grateful for her help. She vaguely mentioned she and her fiancé were looking at March, 2 months after our January date. I offered to help her back, to return the favor. Oh, I haven't even started, she'd say, waving a hand. Nothing is booked. We might just elope. 4 months before her supposed March date, she was still maintaining the nothing is planned lie. I believed her. I figured I'd get a text a week before her wedding saying, hey, come to the courthouse. Then came the day at the invitation shop. It's one of the most famous shops in the city, known for high-end, custom letterpress. I was overwhelmed. The bins were overflowing with samples, and I couldn't decide on a font. The clerk, trying to be helpful, pulled out a recent bestsellers binder. This is a popular layout for local weddings, she said, flipping the page. My heart stopped. There, in elegant gold foil, were the names of S and her fiancé. I didn't just see their names. I saw the date. The wedding was scheduled for the Friday before mine. Not 2 months after. 7 days before. It wasn't just the date that hit me, it was the logistics. That Friday was the exact day of my henna ceremony, a huge, traditional event I had been planning for months, which S was supposed to be a part of. She had sat there, listened to me talk about my henna plans, helped me pick the decor for it, all while knowing she had booked her own wedding for that literal same afternoon. She knew our family would have to choose. My family would be traveling hundreds of kilometers for my wedding week, and she was effectively hijacking the welcome period. She was ensuring that the week leading up to my wedding, my moment, would be entirely overshadowed by her surprise nuptials. The evil eye wasn't just a belief for her, it was a shield she used to justify being incredibly selfish. I stood in that shop, and I felt this hot, prickly heat crawl up my neck. I realized that if I went to my fiancé, he would defend her. He would say, she was probably going to tell us. She just got scared of the bad luck. I didn't want to be the bigger person anymore. Being the bigger person felt like being a doormat. Asked the clerk if they had my venue's contact info. I called the venue right then and there. Is there any way we can move our Saturday date up by 1 week? To the Friday? The manager was actually relieved. Saturdays are gold for them, and freeing one up on short notice was a win. They had the Friday available, the day before S's secret wedding date. I felt like I was vibrating. I called my fiancé, and I lied. I've never been a good liar, but the adrenaline made me sharp. Honey, the venue called. There's a massive double booking error with the plumbing maintenance. Our Saturday is gone. The only date they can give us to keep our deposits is next Friday. He panicked. Friday? People work. What about the guests? I'll handle it, I said, my voice steady. I'll call the vendors. Most are through the venue anyway. It's this or we lose the wedding. He agreed. I felt a pang of guilt, but it was buried under a landslide of vindication. I went back to the clerk and ordered the invites with a new, earlier date. The weeks that followed were a blur of logistics. I was moving pieces on a chessboard that only I could see. S continued to help me, smiling to my face, asking if I was excited for my Saturday wedding, while she secretly prepared to drop her own wedding bomb on the family the week before. Then came the Sunday dinner. We had the invitations in hand. My fiancé was nervous, thinking the family would be annoyed about the Friday date change. We passed them out around the table. I watched S. She opened the envelope, her eyes scanning the card. I saw the moment she hit the date. Her face didn't just go pale, it went gray. She looked at me, and for a second, I saw pure, unadulterated fury. January 16th, she whispered. Then she found her voice. You changed the date? Why would you change the date to the 16th? The venue had an issue. My fiancé started to explain, but S was already standing up. You snake, she screamed. The entire table went silent. Her mother dropped her fork. You did this on purpose. You're trying to ruin me. You're trying to take everything. She was hysterical. She started crying, great racking sobs, accusing us of spying and sabotage. The rest of the family was bewildered. They didn't know about her wedding, so to them, S was just having a mental breakdown over a Friday invitation. S, what is wrong with you? Her fiancé asked, walking into the room just as she threw the invitation at me. He picked it up, saw the date, and then looked at us. He knew. He knew exactly what she had done, and he realized that somehow I had found out. He didn't look angry at me, he looked exhausted. He grabbed us by the arm and told her they were leaving. She didn't go quietly. She spent the entire car ride and the last week bombarding the family WhatsApp group with cryptic messages about betrayal and evil intentions. She's been calling my fiancé, begging him to move the date back, telling him that the stars aren't aligned for a Friday wedding. My fiancé is starting to suspect something. He's not stupid. He sees the timeline. He asked me last night, did you really have to pick that Friday? I'm sitting here now, looking at my beautiful, early delivery invitations, and I feel like I'm trapped in a lie. I sabotaged her surprise. Yes. I stole her thunder before she could steal mine. But in doing so, I've created a rift in the family that might never heal. I didn't want to be the victim of her superstition anymore. I didn't want my wedding to be the other wedding that happened a week after the big surprise. I wanted my family, who is traveling so far, to have their focus on us. But I lied to the man I'm going to marry. The guilt is starting to outweigh the relief. I see S's posts online, photos of her crying, quotes about snakes in the grass, and even though I know she was planning to do the exact same thing to me, I feel like the one with the evil eye now. I'm past the point of no return. The invites are out. The vendors are locked. My family has booked their flights for the new dates. I have effectively won, but the prize feels heavy. Am I the a-hole for playing her at her own game? And how do I ever look my fiancé in the eye and tell him the venue error was actually a calculated strike? I feel like if I confess, I lose him. If I don't, I start our marriage on a foundation of deceit. Update. Hi, everyone. I didn't expect to come back with an update this long after my first post, but a lot has happened and many of you asked what came next. Things didn't settle quickly, and the situation dragged on in a way I didn't anticipate at all. Before anything else, I want to clear up something I saw repeatedly in the comments. Many people assumed I was from East Asia or Turkey because of the evil eye aspect. That's not accurate. My family is originally from North Africa, but we grew up in Europe, and we are not particularly religious. We keep some traditions like the henna ceremony, but that's about it. I'm mentioning this because a lot of the cultural assumptions people made didn't really apply to how we live or how our families function. After I posted, I spent a few days going through the replies. Some people were supportive, others were very critical, especially about the fact that I lied to my fiancé and made a major decision without telling him. That part stayed with me more than anything else. Regardless of everything that happened with his sister, I knew that part wasn't right. At the same time, things in the family were getting worse instead of calming down. The group chat was active almost nonstop for a few days. My sister-in-law continued sending messages, sometimes accusing me directly of changing the date on purpose, sometimes framing it as if I had been hiding things from her, and sometimes asking my husband to fix the situation. The tone kept shifting, but the intensity didn't drop. What made everything more confusing for the rest of the family was that they still didn't know about her wedding date. From their perspective, she was reacting very strongly to something that didn't seem that serious. People were asking questions, trying to understand why a date change would cause that level of reaction, but she avoided giving a clear explanation. It created this strange situation where everyone could see the conflict, but only a few people understood what was actually behind it. The turning point came a few days later when her fiancé called my husband privately. That conversation changed everything. He apologized for how things were unfolding and explained the situation from his side. He confirmed that they had indeed been planning their wedding for that exact date for a while, and that it was intentional not to tell the family until the last moment. According to him, it was consistent with how she handles everything in her life, not just the wedding. When my husband came to talk to me after that call, it was clear that he was upset, but not at me in the way I expected. He was more shocked than anything else. That was the moment I told him the truth. I explained that I had already seen the invitation at the shop, that I knew about the date before everything exploded, and that I had changed our wedding date right after that without telling him the real reason. I apologized for lying and for making such a big decision on my own. I didn't try to justify it because there wasn't really a good justification for keeping that from him. I expected him to be angry about that part, and I was prepared for a difficult conversation. His reaction surprised me. He didn't ignore what I did, but his focus stayed on his sister. The fact that she had planned a full wedding 1 week before ours, knowing all our plans, without saying anything to anyone, affected him more than my decision to change the date. He described it as disrespectful and unnecessary, especially considering how involved she had been in our preparations. He decided to address it directly in the family group chat. Until that point, the situation had been vague for most people, but that changed very quickly. He explained that she had been planning her wedding on a date that would overlap with our events, and that she had chosen not to tell anyone. He didn't mention that I had known in advance or that I had changed the date intentionally after finding out. He kept the focus on her decision to keep everything hidden. That message shifted the entire dynamic. The confusion in the group disappeared almost immediately, and it was replaced by arguments. Some family members felt that what she did was inconsiderate, especially given how close the dates were and how much overlap there would have been. Others felt that she had the right to plan her wedding however she wanted, and that it wasn't anyone else's place to question it. What followed were several days of back-and-forth messages, and the tone became more personal as time went on. The discussion stopped being about the wedding dates and turned into something deeper between the two of them. She accused him of being jealous, of trying to undermine her relationship, and of not supporting her the way a brother should. He pushed back on that and brought up how one-sided things had felt for a long time, not just recently. Old issues started coming up, things from years ago that had nothing to do with the current situation. It became clear that this wasn't just about one decision or one event. There was a lot of unresolved tension between them, and this situation brought all of it to the surface at once. At that point, I stepped back completely. There wasn't anything I could say that would improve the situation, and it had clearly moved beyond me. It became something between them, and it felt more appropriate to stay out of it. The atmosphere in the family was tense for a while, but as the wedding approached, the focus shifted back to the preparations. Despite everything that had happened, the logistics were already in place, and there wasn't much time left to make further changes. My family had already confirmed their travel, and the vendors were all aligned with the new date. The days leading up to the wedding were calmer than I expected. There was still distance with my sister-in-law, but the constant arguing stopped. She didn't attend any of the pre-wedding events, including the henna ceremony. Given everything that had been said, that wasn't surprising. It probably would have been uncomfortable for everyone involved if she had been there. The wedding itself went well. My family was able to come, which was something I had been worried about when all of this started. The events took place as planned, and there were no major issues. The focus stayed on the celebration, and for the most part, the earlier drama didn't carry into that day. Her absence was noticeable, but it didn't dominate the atmosphere. People were aware of the situation, but they didn't bring it into the event. It allowed things to proceed without additional tension. After the wedding, things didn't go back to normal. There hasn't been any real contact with her since then. The last message she sent in the family group was about postponing her own wedding. She mentioned needing time to reconsider things and to think about her relationships within the family. Since then, there hasn't been any update from her. Her fiancé hasn't reached out again either. From what we understand, they're still together, but they've taken a step back from everything. No new date has been shared, and no one has been included in any planning. On our side, life has been relatively quiet. The immediate stress of the situation is gone, but the distance remains. My husband hasn't had a direct conversation with his sister since the argument. There hasn't been any attempt to resolve things yet, at least not from either side. As for us, we've talked about what happened, including the part where I wasn't honest with him. That conversation was necessary, even if it came later than it should have. It didn't turn into a bigger issue between us, but it was addressed clearly, and we both understood why it couldn't happen again. Looking back, the situation unfolded in a way that could have been avoided if there had been more transparency from the beginning, on multiple sides. At the same time, once everything was set in motion, it escalated quickly and involved more people than expected. The outcome isn't completely resolved, but for now, things are stable. The wedding happened without major disruption, my family was present, and we were able to go through the events as planned. The situation with my sister-in-law is still open, and it will probably take time before anything changes there. I appreciate everyone who took the time to share their thoughts, even the critical ones. Reading different perspectives helped me process everything more clearly and understand the parts where I could have handled things differently. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Daily Tales Update for more such stories.